In this video, I want to go over references, and in order to do that, I think it would be a good idea to go all the way back to when we first started learning programming. Say you've got int a equals 1, int b equals a, and then you set b equal to 5. Now, most of us already know that we're copying whatever's in a into b, but that's not something that might make sense if you're new to programming. If you say b equal to 5 here, you might think that after executing all these 3 lines of code, a should equal 5 and b should equal 5, because b is being set to a, so changing b should change a, right? Well, it doesn't, and that's where references come in. So if you ever needed to do something like that, that's when you might use something like a reference. And let's take a look at why it doesn't do this by looking at the address of a and b. So I'm going to print out a and b before running this statement b equals 5, and then I'm going to print out a and b after running it. And it might also help to print the address of a and b where they're located in memory. Before a is equal to 1, b is equal to 1. After running the statement b equals 5, a is going to still equal 1, and then b is going to equal 5. And the reason this happens is because the address of a and the address of b are different. When we do this, we are adding values into a stack and we're copying the value of a into b. So of course, this is not really going to change the value of a, but what if you wanted to? That's where you could use a reference. So let's take a look at how references work. Creating a reference is actually pretty straightforward. So if you've got an integer a and you want to create a reference to integer a, you can create another integer, pass in this ampersand symbol, and what that tells the C++ compiler is to treat b as an alias to a. The value stored inside of b is actually the address to a, and the compiler knows that when it sees an address to another variable, to go to that variable and then set that value. If I'm setting b to 5, what the compiler is actually going to do is to go to the address of a and then set that. Clearly see this if you try to print out these variables one at a time. We're going to print the value of a and b before running this operation, then we're going to print the value of a and b after running this operation, and of course it will be helpful to see the address. When you just set a equal to 1 and then you create the ampersand b equals to a, both of these values are going to equal 1. b is essentially an alias to a, so whatever's inside of a is the same result that's going to be printed outside in b. Now if you change the value of b to 5, what you're actually doing is going to the address of wherever a is located, looking at that variable and changing that to 5. Just to confirm this, we could check the address of a and b, and you'll see that the address of both of them are the same. It would be helpful to go line by line in the assembly, so let's try that out real quick. In the first line in C++, int a equals 1. That's what this line of code is doing right here. Move ox1 into rbp minus ox8. Now, we know that rbp is the register base pointer. This essentially represents the starting point of the stack frame for our current function. Go to the next line, I can print out a. So a is set to 1. If I want to see where a is located, I could do p/x $rbp minus ox8. This is the address of a in our stack. And of course, we can see what's inside of the address of a, which is just the value 1. This is the address of a, and this is what is inside of that address, which is 1. Now we've got LEA. LEA stands for load effective address. So this is the instruction that is being used when we are trying to create a reference to a. We can go to the next line and we can print whatever's in RAX. And wouldn't you look at that? What we've got inside of RAX after completing the LEA instruction is actually the address of a. So instead of RAX, we've got the address of a, and we're confirming this by printing ampersand a, which represents, of course, the address of a. That's what the load instruction is doing. It's loading the address of a into RAX, and we're still on this line. So at this point, it's trying to store the address of a into rbp minus ox10. If I go to the next instruction, and if I print whatever's in rbp minus ox10, this is actually the address of this on the stack. So if we want to see what's inside of it, we actually have to press X to examine. And inside of that location in the stack, what we have is an address. Inside of this address, which is what B is stored at, inside of it, we've actually got the address to A. So A stores 1 and B stores the address of A. See where this is headed? And so now what we're saying is, in this instruction, we're setting B to 5, but notice that we're not actually just setting OX5 into RBP minus OX10, kind of like what we did here, right? When we were setting A, it was very very straightforward. Move 1 into RBP minus OX8. But this move is a little bit different. It seems like it's taking 2 instructions. So the compiler somehow knows that inside of RBP minus OX10 is not a regular variable. We have to do some extra operations to set b equal to 5. And it somehow knows that. I don't exactly know how it knows, but it knows. And what it's doing is it's moving this value into RAX. So let's go to the next line. Inside of RAX, we've got our B38. So this is, of course, the variable A. So I can confirm this by printing P ampersand A. So this is the address of A. Inside of RAX, we've still got the address. So this time, even though we're trying to set the variable B equals 5, right? What this line is doing, which, first of all, the first thing to note is that it's 2 instructions. But anyway, this line is trying to set 5 into not where B is, but wherever address is, right? And dereferencing whatever is in this address. That's the interesting part of how this assembly works. It's a little bit different than just moving OX5 into RBP minus 1XO. It's actually taking whatever's in this, putting that into a register and dereferencing it and then moving 5 into it. If I complete this operation and if I print A, we're going to see that A has been set to 5. And if I print B, we're going to see that B contains the address of A. The debugger is smart enough to know that this is an address and that you probably also want to know what's inside of whatever this address is. And so that's kind of like the step-by-step of what's going on in assembly. And before we, close off this video, I think there's a couple of things that you should know about references. Now, the first thing is that a reference is an alias, so it must bind to a valid object. So you can't write code like this. If you write code like this, it's going to be a compiler error because you can't define a reference and then initialize it later, right? That's going to just cause an error. The C++ language does not have the concept of an empty reference. And the second thing is that in this case, C will always be a reference to B. So if you're trying to say C equal A, you're not changing the internal reference of C. You're not going to set the address of C to be whatever the address of A is. C is always going to be an alias to B. Changing the value of B to equal whatever's inside of A. For example, if I did C equal 19, the value of B is going to change to 19. The value of A is still going to remain 1. And that's a little bit of an introduction to references, and hopefully it helped to go through the assembly line by line. And yeah, if you made it this far, I'd appreciate it if you could hit the like button and consider subscribing for more C++ tutorials just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.